With Pokemon Ultra Sun and Moon on the horizon, many questions are being asked daily, with those same people avoiding spoilers, which in turn causes those questions to remain unanswered. Of course, if you go over to 4chan or download some shady software from some sites, you might be able to play Ultra Sun and Moon a little bit early at the risk of a virus or malware on your PC, or you could just pirate the ROM file onto your 3DS too. But I personally prefer to support the Pokemon Company and Game Freak for the number of years worth of entertainment that they have given to me. One of the bigger questions that is circling the internet is, will this bring it all together, or the annoyingly dubbed "it all comes together" theory? No offense, Gnogin, but seeing the same idea about 1,000 times over the year is getting a bit old. This raises the question, with the return of all these villains, does this truly mean a reboot for the series? Will this all come together, or will the series remain as it is now, and this is just an alternative timeline? Before we get into that, a bit of self-promotion here. With my Patreon, your support often goes into building better editing stations, better equipment, giving away several game cards, including Pokemon games, of course, and the remainder of the money often just goes back into the fans. If you're interested in supporting me for $1, you can see these videos a day early as a reward, and if you're feeling generous this season, you can donate $20 and receive a Pokemon plushie in the mail as well as other tiered rewards. With that out of the way, go ahead and sign in, sit right down, get yourself a drink as we explore this idea. Will Pokemon end, reset, or stay the same with Ultra Sun and Moon? I want to point out that with this video, I'm not taking Gnoggin's theories, which are literally hours worth of work, into several videos and addressing every single point. I'm just taking the core idea that the series will all be tied together and either be ended, reset, or continue. I have spoken about this before, and it was a long time ago, way before the reveal of alternate universes, Team Rocket, and stuff like that. But is this really an alternative universe, or were the villains pulled to this universe from other alternative realities, and this is the universe continued from Sun and Moon? This is all very convoluted and can be easily confused, so try to stay with me. The first scenario, and the most prevalent one, is that Giovanni defeated Red and subsequently Blue and Gold as well, and accomplished his goals by going region to region with Mewtwo. With the games, this isn't really implied because the games have always been a separate universe, but because of the more recent tie-ins, it seems Game Freak want to tie in the anime to the games, universes, and make them all one thing, with examples like Ash's Greninja and Ash Hat Pikachu's. There are more examples, but with those alone, it proves that the anime universes are tied into remake realities and not the original ones. This would be Fire Red's and Leaf Green's reality as opposed to the Red and Blue timeline. Most people consider these remakes not to be canon, but perhaps we should look at it more as a coincided series. For example, perhaps the alternative realities of Fire Red and Leaf Green are canon for that series, to include Heart Gold, Soul Silver, Alpha Ruby, and Omega Sapphire, and other future remakes. That said, Giovanni, likely in another universe separate from these, succeeded in his goals for reasons. This prevents the idea that fate is not fate, and that there is a failure timeline where Trainer Red failed to defeat Giovanni, just like in Zelda where there is a failure timeline. That could be a completely separate timeline reality, or Giovanni could have time traveled back to correct his past mistakes, or he could have taken a wormhole back as well. These are all viable scenarios, but how does this go into the "it all comes together" theories of resetting, rebooting, or ending? Ultra Sun and Moon is the culmination of 20 years of Pokemon. It combines most of the greatest things from the series in the course of 20 years while challenging the player with 20 years of villains to battle. This does not imply any kind of reset whatsoever. It only shows that they're likely celebrating the last 20 years of Pokemon. There's little evidence to show, once again, Giovanni is defeated, the game will be over, and the series will end. Nor does this game imply or show that once it's over, the series will be reset. How do we know this, though? Firstly, if this is an alternative reality, Game Freak can continue the core series and point to the alternative timeline idea saying that that was just a one-off and not part of the main canon series. Secondly, games like Pokemon Diamond, Pearl, and Platinum have yet to be remade, and both Nintendo and Game Freak know how popular those games were. To write them off would be to write off a large amount of sales. And finally, Nintendo is well known for doing things like Mario Odyssey, being one of the most obvious culminations of Mario's lifetime, including many mentions and references to previous Mario games. Again, there is no indication that Mario is going to be reset, ended, or rebooted. Nintendo and Game Freak work together quite a lot, and Shigeru Miyamoto is an inspiration to the creator of Pokemon, which leads me again to doubt that Pokemon is going to be resetting or ending. That said, when Ultra Sun and Moon was introduced, the backlash was so terrible that later it was revealed a core Pokemon was being worked on onto the Nintendo Switch, but they had nothing to show yet. This completely rules out the entire Pokemon will end theory after Sun and Moon. Now, will Pokemon reset? I can't say it will or won't with this game, but I find it incredibly hard to accept when there are still no Generation 4 remakes. This is the last core Pokemon game for the Nintendo 3DS, with little doubt, absolutely. Companies can go back and change their answers later, but the 3DS struggles with what Pokemon does. Double battles, live backgrounds, graphics. It's very clear Game Freak want to shift their development to the Nintendo Switch with a severely more powerful system than the 3DS. I would not be surprised that Generation 4 will be the Pokemon games introduced on the Switch to play up nostalgia and bolster sales. As traditionally, good old console Pokemon games didn't sell as well as the mobile handheld games. So, does it all come together? Well, 20 years of Pokemon comes together into one game, but will it cause a complete reboot to the series? Go ahead and explain why you killed your $1 billion grossing series off to your shareholders in favor of a reboot. The anime is still running, movies are still being made, and there is a large amount of merchandise being sold. If I were a gambling man, I would surmise that there will be no end for Pokemon. There will never be a reboot, and instead, there will just be alternative timelines that the Pokemon Company like to play with for the potential of what could be if they had ended the series a certain way or changed certain things within that game series. It's easy with a little risk, and it prevents a series from being completely killed off, meaning that Pokemon Ultra Sun and Moon are, once again, just alternative realities Game Freak created for fun to show what might happen. Ladies and gentlemen, the real lesson here is that if money is involved, companies will likely never give that money up for very obvious reasons. And rebooting Pokemon might work, but with all the movies, anime seasons, games, and merchandise, I mean, look, just take a look-see here, man. This is just some spare stuff that I've bought, and well, here we are, just a few games I decided to pull from my collection. Yeah, to give up potential sales to relevancy, it's not likely. So, if you were to reboot the series, games like this, and references to things like this would no longer be as relevant because they're old news and thus would not sell that well anymore. But that's just an idea, a thought. When Pokemon Ultra Sun and Moon are released, it could turn out that the series is over and will be rebooted with Ash being in love with Brock. Who knows? All I know is that I hope you enjoyed this video, and you can show me that by leaving me a big like on this video. Comment your theories below. Let me know what you think will happen after Pokemon Ultra Sun and Moon. And I've been your host, Protomario, and I'm signing out. As always, good gaming, God bless, and thank you for watching.